This is Raphael Colantonio. He runs a studio called Arkhane, which you know and love from their work on the Dishonored games, but it was announced last year that they are handling Prey, and we are so close, we're edging so close to the release of this game, so there actually hasn't been a lot of time between it was kind of released to the world and now we're actually going to get our hands on it. Was that a deliberate thing by you guys? You guys wanted to not promise a year or 2 years in advance that this was coming? You wanted to sort of say, get it out there and say this is something you'll be playing soon?
Yeah, I think we wanted to make sure that it's the experience that we wanted and that the players are going to enjoy, and that is so that we have a very clear message, a very clear demo for people to play and to enjoy.
Yeah. What happened with Prey? Because this was something that Bethesda was showing off in an earlier sort of incarnation, and then it disappeared, and then it popped up with you guys. What can you give us a sense of what transpired there?
Yeah, it's interesting because that happens a lot in games. Games get started and then they get killed, and it's never usually a big deal because, and a lot of the time it happens behind the scene and people are not aware of. Somehow this got very publicized.
Yeah.
However, when we did our own game, it had nothing to do with Prey 2. We were doing a game like this, very in the vein of the kind of games that we do, Arcane. So the first-person immersive simulations, which are actually a mix of first-person shooter and RPGs, and with a lot of simulation in the background, etc. That's really our kind of game. So we were more inspired by games like System Shock, which were our, the looking glass kind of heritage that we've always had.
Yeah.
And as we were doing this game, we decided it would be in space, and it's all about surviving those aliens, etc. And then the opportunity came up, which, hey, by the way, we have this franchise. What do you think of it? At a high level, it's the high level concept is kind of look alike because it's in space. There's aliens and you have to escape.
Yeah.
The name is great. Prey is a very punchy, 4 letters, really cool name.
Yeah.
And we went, okay, let's get the name. But it was clear from the get-go on our side, it was like our own version of that, our own franchise.
Okay, so will there be ties to anything we've ever known in Prey before?
No, it's really like treated as an entire different IP. It's a new IP.
Okay, well, give us a sense of, we've seen the trailer with the spooky stuff going on in that guy's eye, and it just looks really creepy. What's happening in this game? Who are we? What are we going to be able to do?
So, Who Are You is actually one of the themes of the game. In fact, you are called Morgan Yu. And you are the subject of an experiment, and things went wrong. You find yourself on board of a space station, there are aliens everywhere, you don't really know why you're here, what happened, but your first motive is to just survive until you know more and hopefully escape this place. Now, as you play, you realize that there's another mystery that creeps in, which is, hold on, why me? What happened exactly? And so you're peeling the layers of the story, and that's the second thing that actually catch your interest and make you keep going and playing. In fact, we released, so we had a lot of journalists playing the first hour recently of the game, and the game starts with a pretty strong opening that highlights this mystery, and that's what we hope. We hope players are going to be excited to know more about that.
Awesome. And mechanically, is it going to sort of lend itself to a lot of pretty fierce action, some gunplay and stuff, or is it more stealth, more kind of a thinking person's experience, or both?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's really a play your way kind of game where, again, like it's those games that are an intersection between first-person shooter and RPGs. And based on how you want to play, you could actually treat it pretty much as a first-person shooter, even though resource is pretty scarce, so you'll have to scavenge stuff and build your ammo to play as a shooter. But that's a possibility if that's really what you want.
Yeah.
If you keep on increasing the tree related to guns and combat and health, etc. But you can also try to play more like a hacker or someone who likes to use gadgets, or be a little more indirect in his approach based on what you acquire. Like if you acquire some more things into stealth, for example, then you'll have an advantage if you attack people by surprise. And then the thing that at some point opens, and that's about 2 hours into the game, is then you have access to all the aliens' powers, because you can actually acquire the powers as well. So anything that the aliens can do, including some weird things such as turning into objects or shifting around. All these things you can actually acquire and do them yourself.
You guys were, quite rightly applauded for your work on the Dishonored games. And Dishonored 1, I think, was a one-team company at that point, right? It was made partially in Lyon, France, and it was made in Austin, Texas. But you guys were all collaborating to build one thing. Now, Dishonored 2 has just come out, and it's a fantastic game and very well received. You're working on Prey, which is not a small title. How were you able to kind of transition your company to be able to handle two massive projects that are pretty closely spaced? This, you're shipping something within 7 months of the last thing you just shipped, which was huge.
Yeah, that part is pretty miraculous, in fact.
Sorry, I'm pointing out how tough it is to do this, and I apologize. I mean, you must be exhausted.
No, it's true. We've had a very, very slow growth at Arkhane. We started in '99 with 4 people.
Yeah.
And now we have 2 teams, one in France, one in Austin. So it's been a very slow, controlled growth. And by the end of Dishonored, we had grown enough on both sides that we felt comfortable with the idea of doing the forbidden, which is to actually split the team into 2.
Yeah.
And grow those 2 teams to 2 different games. And that's what we did. And it worked out. And essentially, there are really like 2 separate studios at this point.
Yeah.
And there are a few bridges between the 2. But the fact that they are separated physically also helped, to your point, how we managed to make 2 games almost at the same time. Is I think the physical separation helps not scavenge resource from each other, because that's usually what happens when you have 2 teams in the same space.
Is this something that you do in conjunction with Bethesda and the sort of the partnership that you have with them as your publisher? They own your company too, right? Is this something that sort of you follow with their lead or their suggestions and their need and appetite to publish more, or was that fully your decision?
Well, it's not fully my decision in a way that I could not impose them to do that, but I suggested the idea that we believe we were ready for doing something new. We had the desire, the excitement to do two projects this time. Yeah. And Bethesda thought it would be decided to take the risk, which it was risky, obviously, because it's hard. Those games are hard to make.
Well, they're hard to make, and the pedigree that you've assembled for both Dishonored and now for Prey, comes from System Shock and Deus Ex and BioShock, massive Game of the Year games. You've made 2 Game of the Year games recently. What's that pressure like? Like you've positioned yourself so you can't stumble now with Prey, because it's going to be like a big deal, right? So. Yeah. I'm sorry, am I keeping you up at night, or is this the stuff you live with?
No, it's the stuff we live with. I think it's terrifying, and at the same time, it's exciting. So I think some of us live in that constant need for challenge, reward kind of thing. It is stressful. It's either that, either I'm bored. So there's no middle ground.
It is a pretty amazing time, though, right? Because Deus Ex was such an anomaly, and System Shock too. But now we have the Fallout games, we have the Skyrims, we have BioShock games, we have the Dishonored, and Prey is looking to kind of enter that pantheon. Pretty cool to be a fan, probably, which you sound like you are, and Harvey is. There's a whole bunch of that pedigree out there now.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's true in every kind of art. People do things when they are finally in power. They do things that they were inspired by when they were kids.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of in any artistic venue you see a resurgence of things that are like 20, 30, 40 years old, and every time they recycle like that, right?
Sure, yeah.
In our case, I think Harvey and I were that was our thing. Were those old Ultimas and Looking Glass games, and now that we're making those games, we're inspired by those. So the art has this weird cyclic thing, right? So we hope that in 20, 30 years somebody will do something very inspired by Dishonored or Prey.
That's amazing. Okay, well you've shipped Dishonored 2. Likely there will be a Game of the Year edition of that game, or something big will come from there. But Prey is imminent. You guys must be at that point where, what's next? Can you give us a tease and you got a lot of people working for you in 2 countries. What happens with Arkhane now?
A lot of vacation.
Yeah.
This is very, very well.
Everybody finds their razors as well to shave the beards.
I need to shave. I need to sleep. We don't know exactly. We're still talking about a variety of things, but most probably something in the vein of what we like to do. Those games, those immersive sims.
Nice. I can't wait to play this game, man. I'm a huge fan of you and of Harvey and of your company, and you make really, really fun stuff, dude.
Thank you.
I can't wait for Prey. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.